It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, today we're going to jump on that Sharp Interactive board. FujiFilm Holdings, third quarter, 9 months worth of revenue and operating profit for their FY, which ends March of 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started in today's episode, I want to share, and I've shared this quote before, but it comes from Ray Kroc. It goes like this: when the competition's drowning, get out a garden hose, shove it down their throat, and turn the water on full blast. And ladies and gentlemen, when I start looking at FujiFilm and I start looking at their numbers and their operating profit, I'm pretty convinced that if they wanted to, they could go to the local hardware store, pick up some garden hoses, at least 2 of them, and they could shove it down 2 competitors' throats, turn the water on full blast, and they could probably take their place in the market. I'm just saying. It won't be easy. FujiFilm's going to have to be bold. They're going to have to take action. They're going to have to get aggressive. But they're definitely in the position to do it. Over the last couple of weeks, as I went through the OEM's financials, I kept saying you got to have operating profit. If you're running on a shoestring, you don't have enough money to take bold, aggressive action. But when you could produce operating profit, guess what else you could produce? Well, you could produce a momentum that might make your competitors a little bit fearful. Fuji, I think you need to take a trip to the hardware store and pick up those hoses. So ladies and gentlemen, let's just jump on that Sharp board. Let's go through my presentation. Before we share any information about Fuji, I have to do this. I have to do a commercial for the End of the Day with Ray. Ladies and gentlemen, go to the endofthedaywithray.com. Endofthedaywithray.com will get you to the website. Become a sponsor. And I'm looking for those individual sponsors. Individual sponsors, you'll see the category. Click on the category. It's $50 a year, folks. It's like buying a book that never ends. The End of the Day with Ray brings more content to the industry than any other platform out there. Literally thousands of hours worth of content. And I truly appreciate all those individual supporters that I have. But I'm looking for some more. I can't be out there, beating up the OEMs for not making operating profit without making sure that the End of the Day with Ray has enough profit to maintain as an ongoing concern. So I need all the support out there I can get. Because folks, at the end of the day, it is about fun, but it's also about some money too. So let's go ahead and jump right on in there and look what's going on at Fuji. Let's talk about FujiFilm Holding Corporation. The entire corporation, 9 months worth of revenue is $15.6 billion. Operating profit of $1.5 billion, 8.7%. Yes, indeed, that deserves a clap. Congratulations, Fuji. Let's look at that business innovation group. That's what we all care about, those friends of mine that sell supply and service print equipment. Top line revenue for the 9 months, $4.6 billion. Operating profit, $358 million, 8%. Yes, indeed, it deserves another clap. Folks, they're in a great position. They're in a great position to cause havoc to some of those OEMs that aren't in such a great position. And we know a couple of them. As a matter of fact, I'm going to share some comparisons here. And I'm convinced after I share these comparisons here on the Sharp Interactive board that if Fuji was thinking like I'm thinking, they're going to the hardware store so they can pick up a couple of hoses. Let's just jump in there and break out this business innovation group. Ladies and gentlemen, they have Office Solutions. That's where the MFPs live. Revenue for the 9 months for that group was $3.1 billion. This isn't a small player. $3.1 billion, 9 months worth of revenue for the MFP category of the Business Innovation Unit. Business Solutions, the Software Solutions, the DX Library, all the other stuff. Folks, look at the revenue on that. $1.5 billion for 9 months. $4.6 billion together. But look at this. Operating profit just for that group is $358 million. Let's do some comparisons, if you will, because I think it's interesting. Because our industry, our industry sometimes gets blinded by the, BLI awards or the IDC ratings, which mean absolutely nothing to anybody except for the OEMs chasing the IDC ratings and chasing the BLI awards. But it doesn't mean anything to profitability, does it? I got a tip for you, and I've said this before. Key Point Intelligence and the IDC people, I think what you should do is this. You should put together a program and then evaluate and give an award out for the best profitability of OEMs. Let's focus on that. Best operating profit of the OEMs in the market and rate them. And then that would be something really worth bragging about, right? It would also alert the whole world that those with the operating profit are coming to get you. They're going to go buy those hoses. Ladies and gentlemen, let's do some comparisons against Fujifilm Business Innovation, okay? And our friends over at Konica Minolta and Ricoh. I took Konica Minolta, digital workplace and professional print combined revenue is $4.7 billion, okay? $4.7 billion. Our friends over here at Fujifilm Business Innovation is $4.6. $358 million in operating profit against $96.7 million in operating profit. 3 times the operating profit, right? So I think it's safe to say that Fuji Business Innovation is doing much more better profitability than Konica Minolta. It's just the reality. The numbers don't lie. Let's compare them to our friends over at Ricoh. $9.1 billion top-line revenue for the same period of time, 9 months in to the FY ending March of 2023. They have an operating profit of $135.4 million. Our friends over here at Fuji Business Innovation, half of the revenue for the 9 months, and double the profit. Actually, more than double the profit. Fuji, I think it's time you go to the hardware store and you buy a couple of hoses. Let's dig a little bit deeper into this because I thought this was really, really amazing when I saw these numbers. So when I look at Konica Minolta, and we know that Konica Minolta for a long, long time has been really bragging about this IT services stuff, and I've been pretty critical of it because they don't share any of the real numbers, so no one really knows what they're doing specifically in the IT space. But they have this digital workplace business unit, and they break out the numbers for the DWDX. And the DWDX would be all this other stuff besides the MFPs, right? And when you look at the revenue for 9 months of the DWDX for Konica Minolta, same period of time as Fuji Business Innovation, it was $532.8 million in 9 months. And I started thinking to myself, I have never seen a press release about Fuji Business Innovation running around buying up like 18 companies all have to do with IT and stuff. I never saw any of those press releases. But yet when I think about what they're doing in the marketplace from a revenue standpoint, it's $1.5 billion in their business solutions group. That's $1 billion more in revenue for the same period of time as Konica Minolta. $1 billion more in revenue. Now, I got to do a little more research. I got to get with our friends over there at Fuji Business Innovation to find out what's in this business solutions group. But I got to be honest with you, folks. That's a huge difference. $1 billion more. Not to mention the group's profitability. So that's just something we need to think about. Because sometimes a lot of folks are really good at getting the attention of the media and getting all these press releases and doing all this stuff with the BLI folks, and sometimes perceptions get out of whack against reality. And that's why I always urge all those friends of mine to make sure they go to these OEMs' websites and pull up the information off their investor relations tabs and read them and start comparing them to the other folks in the space. Don't let the press releases dictate what's going on. You got to start doing your own exploration. And what you discover might surprise the hell out of you. Let's jump over here, folks. I want to just share this with you because like all of our industry and all the technology space in general, there's some movement going on with employment. When I look at Fuji, in March of 2022, they had 75,474 employees. In December of 2022, they had 74,491. So they had a 1,000 reduction headcount. And this is something that our whole industry is going to have to get ready for. But again, during these tough times that we're all in, both around the world geopolitically, plus economically, interest rates, all the things that are impacting us, it's going to be those OEMs that have a discipline to operating profit. It's going to be those OEMs that have a discipline to manpower and make sure they got the right people in the right seats to the bus, if you know what I mean. Times are not going to get easier. They're only going to get tougher. And when times get tough, guess what? You got to be tough to play in tough times. And in order to play in tough times in our industry, you better have some operating profit to be able to fool the toughness. Ladies and gentlemen, Fujifilm kicks off some new A4s. You can see them here on the board. You can do your own research. But I got to tell you something, Fujifilm. You got to work this thing out with Xerox. I know you had some bad blood going on there a few years ago, but I got to tell you something. They're the largest dealer in the world. You need to figure this out with them. I'm not sure where either of you are with this, but I got to tell you something. When I hear the rumblings, how you want to come into the marketplace, and get dealers to take you on, or maybe come in and go direct. Well, you know what? You might be able to do that, but if you're going to do that, you're going to have to play really, really hard. And you're going to have to take out an OEM. You're going to have to take out an OEM. It's not about taking out Xerox. Xerox is a dealer footprint. They're the distribution to the end user. So you need distribution to the end user, and you have the world's largest right now as your number one customer. You need to be figuring that out. But at the same time, if you buy the garden hoses and you find some weak OEMs out there and you want to take them out of the print sector, you should fight like hell because you could probably win. Now, some of you people are thinking, Ray, this is just brutal. You want OEMs to go away? That's not very nice. Well, guess what? During declining marketplaces, it's not about being nice. It's about playing to win. It's about doing everything you can as sharp business people to make sure you have enough operating profit, to make sure you're making the right decisions so that you can take out the competition. That's what it's all about, folks. This is a democracy. Now, I guess if we were all working over there in China, it'd be a little different. But we don't. We work in the free world. We work in the free marketplace. And during tough times, you got to get tough. You got to get real tough sometimes. Fuji, I really want you to figure this thing out with Xerox. Because, you got to, what's their volume you're doing with them? Share that with the world. I think that'd be nice next time you do your financials. This is what the revenue is from Xerox. Who are your new OEM relationships? Because you can make products for other OEMs, but you might want to ask yourself a question. Do I want to make products for other OEMs, or do I just want to put a garden hose down some other OEMs' throats and turn the water on full blast? That's the question I'd be asking if I was you. New U.S. dealer distributions and projects, what are you really doing with this? Look, you can't run around and try to get a dealer to take out one OEM and sign you up. That's just going to be a convoluted nightmare mess. I mean, think about our friends at Samsung that tried to do that. Where did that end up? In HP's hand? Look at HP. What are they doing with that? They're not getting a lot of momentum, no matter what they tell you all about her, and they go on some of these venues in our industry and talk about how wonderful Amplify is. We all know where that's going, not really a whole lot of places. Non-manufactured services, I'd really like to get more information on that, so I look for a phone call from you on that. I want to find out more about your services products, besides the MFPs. And why build something you already haven't? Figure out this thing with Xerox, and in the meantime, if you want to cause disruption in the marketplace and you got the money to do it, go get some garden hoses and put them down the throats of a couple of the weaker OEMs that can't make operating profit. Now, maybe today's episode will inspire those other OEMs to start building up their operating profit. Maybe they'll see you in the parking lot at the True Value Hardware store and they're like, oh man, they must have watched Ray's video. They're going to get in some garden hoses. We better pay attention to our operating profit. That would be a fantastic thing. I would love to see our marketplace competing for operating profit, because the disciplines they'd have to put in place would be pretty awesome. And I believe you'd see some really, really fantastic outcomes from that. But ladies and gentlemen, whatever happens, everybody watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you.